$100 doesn't really get you very far these days, does it? And when you're talking $100 for a new mountain bike, you might as well not even try. But sometimes the right time, the right place, or with a Facebook Market searching habit worthy of a professional mental health checkup, $100 can get you way more than you're expecting. What's up guys, Kyle here again, and thanks for getting belligerent with me today. So as a new mountain biker, as somebody who is new to the hobby, naturally my every waking thought has been consumed by biking. Whether it be actually being out on the trail, watching videos on how to improve my skills, or relentlessly searching Facebook Marketplace for the next bike project deal, I can say that mountain biking has pretty much taken over my existence, and I'm not mad about it. So with that being said, I stumbled upon an excellent Facebook Marketplace deal and I wanted to share it with you guys. Now, most of the bikes that I own have been Facebook Marketplace scores, and the reason for that is I am really interested in buying the Wal Mart or big box store bikes and kind of souping them up if I can get them at a good price, because that is a really low cost of entry for me as a new biker who doesn't really need a bike that is capable of much more than your basic trail. And it also allows me a cheap platform to learn how to work on new bikes and learn what parts are probably going to be the best bang for buck when it comes to my hard-earned dollar and sinking it into a bike for an upgrade. So I was browsing Facebook Marketplace, minding my own business last night, and there it was, slapping me right in the face. A 29-inch Schwinn Ascension mountain bike. This is a bike that I truthfully haven't looked into too much because I saw that it had a $450 price tag. And at that $450 price point, I felt like there are better options on the market that I would like to check out first. Now, don't get me wrong, there isn't really anything wrong with the Schwinn Ascension as it is in its stock form, but it also doesn't give you anything to write home about out of the box either. So as I saw the ad, I saw the $100 price tag, I kind of figured that the guy that was selling it threw a random number on there because that seems to happen a lot on Facebook Marketplace. So I messaged him, I made sure that his price of $100 was legit. And he said, yup, turns out he was selling the bike because another bike had popped up locally to him that he was hoping to grab, and he basically needed $100 to be able to afford it. He said that there had been a couple of mods done to it, but that a couple of other people wanted to grab the bike and that he would give me all of the included parts if I paid his $100 asking price and went to get the bike immediately. So I figured, you know what, kind of hard to lose out at that $100 asking price. In browsing the pictures in his listing, I could see that there was a carbon fiber seat post and an upgraded saddle added. There were some race face half Nelson grips added, and there were some race face Chester pedals added. So with those items alone, you're talking probably somewhere in the range of $200 in upgrades. So I figured, you know what, I'm not gonna lose on this deal. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the bike. So other than the rear wheel and the group set being different, he left the Pro Rush shifter and clutch derailleur in place. This is the stock 7-speed Pro Rush shifter and derailleur. He switched out the freewheel group set for a 7-speed Shimano Mega Range, which if you're not on a bike with a 2x or a 3x, doesn't actually give you much range, ironically. But yeah, other than that, the bike was stock. Overall, it's got some battle scars, but it was nothing terrible. There was no holes in the frame, nothing that really made me feel like I should, have a little pause in purchasing the bike. I got it home, I cleaned it up, it's in great shape. It's in good enough shape overall that I feel comfortable turning this into a project bike. So let's take a look at some of the stock specs from Schwinn. We'll take a look at some of the highlights from the Target website, see what they point out about the bike. In the highlights section, it says, aluminum mountain frame with Schwinn suspension fork is built for responsive riding on tough and bumpy trails. Okay. Pro Rush 7-speed shifter and rear derailleur with clutch offers precise gear changes. All right, let's see how it goes down all the way on that Mega Range. Pretty good. Front and rear mechanical disc brakes provide crisp, all-condition stopping. First thing that I noticed on this bike right off the bat is the brakes are hilariously bad. And by hilarious, I mean terrifying and extremely unsafe, so. Okay. Light and strong alloy rims provide added durability for everyday riding. I think we know that that's not true at this point. Big 29er all-terrain mountain tires roll over anything in your path. Okay guys, so all of my terrible attempts at humor aside, This bike is basically your run-of-the-mill Schwinn modern mountain bike, meaning it features a lot of the same parts and features that you'll find on stuff like the Schwinn Boundary, the Schwinn Axum, the Schwinn Taft, basically all of those 29-inch one-buy mountain bikes that you can get off the shelf at, Wal Mart, Target, your big box stores. So with those bikes, there's usually something that kind of sets them apart from the others. In this case, there really isn't anything like that in my personal opinion. So in my opinion, there isn't really anything about the Ascension that sets it apart from the other bikes that would make you go, ooh, I really want the Ascension over the other ones. It's kind of a hodgepodge of different features of the more popular Schwinn bikes. It does have the wider seat post and it does have dropper support, which those are really nice features. And on top of that, it also has the internal routing. I can't get my fingers to work to do all three. But yeah, wider seat post, dropper support, internal routing, all good stuff. But as far as everything else, I mean, this thing is basically a Schwinn Boundary, but with internal routing and dropper post support. So are those items really worth an extra $100 over the $349 Boundary that you can get off the shelf at Walmart, when something like the Schwinn Axum also has the dropper support, but that bike comes with a cassette. So if you do want to change the group set on the Axum without upgrading the wheel set in the future, you can do that. All you have to do is buy the parts for the new group set. But in the case of the Ascension, you're paying $50 more for a bike that still has, the freewheel on it. So you're going to have to update at least the rear wheel or the rear hub to a cassette-based rear hub in order to upgrade the group set to anything that's going to be worth upgrading to, because there really just isn't much in the freewheel category that's going to be worth your time. And in my opinion, that is kind of what makes the Ascension a bad buy, unless you're looking to buy it for the frame like myself and completely redo the bike. Because if you're just looking to buy it, have a decent out of the box experience and possibly upgrade it as you go down the line, the wheels are gonna be one of the more expensive upgrades that you do. The wheels, the fork, possibly the group set, depending on what you go with. Those are gonna be your most expensive items. So if you want to upgrade the fork, you wanna upgrade the group set to, semi-budget parts that are still going to take the bike, from this level, take it up a notch into a very capable trail bike, but you don't wanna spend too much money. The Axum's going to allow that because of the cassette, but with the Ascension, you're gonna have to buy an entire new set of wheels. And for something that is really even worth buying, you're looking at least $200, and that's a pretty expensive upgrade considering you can get a Suntour Pixon fork for around $200. You can get an Advent X 10-speed group set with clutch derailleur for $200. I would much rather spend my money on those items than I would on a new wheel set, just so I can put a new group set on it, because you're compounding items that you need in order to upgrade. So that is my personal opinion. Again, I bought this bike at $100 because I planned on turning it into a project bike, and at $100 it was kind of a no-brainer. But if you're buying it at the brand new $450 price point, not going to be nearly as good of a deal for you if you're looking to upgrade to a different group set in the future. Well, with all that being said, we're going to take this bike out as is, as I purchased it, for a little test ride around Scott Park, which is my local loop. It's a very tame mountain bike trail, and it's kind of perfect for what these Wal Mart bikes are intended for. And just for fun, we're gonna see how this thing performs as is, and then we'll come back. I'll give you my final thoughts on this bike and what upgrades that I'm gonna do to it in the future. All right, guys, we are here at the trail. I rode the bike here. It's about a 1.7 mile ride, pretty flat ground, so hopefully the wind's not hitting the camera too bad right now. But first thing that I noticed on this bike right off the bat is the brakes are hilariously bad. And by hilarious, I mean terrifying and extremely unsafe. So this ride is definitely gonna be sketchy. Luckily, this is a very tame, basically just walking trail that I take these bikes on initially to test them out. So with that being said, let's stop. Let's turn this Pro Rush clutch on. Okay, clutch is on. Ooh, not a whole lot of tension added, but all right, let's see how this works. I will say these Race Face half Nelson grips on your bare hands feel very nice and grippy. So let's get in here. Let's hit this first jump. This fork is sketching me out. Oh my God. Did I break it? Oh, no, this thing just has no travel. I must have bottomed it out pretty much right off the bat. We are also in the highest gear, and I'm basically at a pedal already. Overall though, the bike feels not bad. It's not noisy, it's very quiet, other than that fork exploding. And of course we got the Race Face Chester pedals on here, so I feel like my feet are safe at this point. Every time I hit this downed tree up here on stock pedals, I always feel like I'm about to fly off the bike. Sometimes I do, but that was pretty good. All right, let's see how it goes down all the way on that mega range. Pretty good. That's a big jump from that last gear to the next gear up though. Let's hit this jump. Ooh, yeah man, that fork is pretty bad. Haven't really had to engage the brakes yet, and we won't have to use them much on this trail. It's just the nature of this trail. I'm out of pedal immediately going downhill. Let's get all the way into that lowest gear again. See how this thing climbs. I believe it's 36 tooth. Whew. Ugh. All right, it got all the way down there, so that's a good sign. You can hear that wheel hub engagement clicking in. Oh, that felt pretty nice. These tires aren't bad. They feel softer than I thought they would. To be honest, the whole bike feels a little softer. Truthfully, I did not expect much from this bike at all. It looked pretty rough. It kind of felt rough the first time that I hopped on it and rode it around. But other than the brakes and the fork, it doesn't feel too bad. It is heavy. It's definitely heavy. So some weight reduction would absolutely be welcomed on this thing. This thing is shifting down really, really well. Here, we got a couple roots up here. You know, the fork does okay on the small stuff, I'll give it that. Obviously with 60 millimeters of travel, you're not gonna get much of anything as far as real trail use out of it. And in fact, you probably shouldn't even think about taking it on stuff like that. Let's get some speed here. Let's hit these roots. These are always a little sketchy. Ooh, definitely did not soak those up very well. Went up through that area, no problem. Here is the fastest part of this trail. See how fast we can get this bike going. See how she handles through the turns. All right, we got some speed. Honestly, the bike feels good as long as you're not hitting any big roots, any big jumps. Bike feels good. Tires are gripping. That was user error on the turn. I'm always afraid to lean it in on these new bikes. Let's hit this one. All right, we're sticking. Up here it's loose gravel and stuff, but the bike staying planted. How you guys doing? Yeah man, so far this bike feels pretty good. It really is exceeding my expectations. That fork feels terrible, but I knew it was gonna. I was not expecting any sort of performance out of this fork whatsoever. And maybe in that regard, it's actually exceeding my expectations, because it is dampening the smaller roots and stuff pretty well. As you can hear, drivetrain, that ProRoast drivetrain was struggling a little bit with that gear shift. All right, okay, we're back in that highest gear. Let's get some speed. This is kind of like a tight little area where it's fun to just zip through these little corners. Nothing in the way of features, just kind of feels more intense because it's tight and narrow. The bike handles well. Feels more agile than a couple of my other 29ers. I don't know why, it just does. If I was literally just using this bike for this trail and cruising around town, I would probably upgrade the brakes from a safety standpoint, and that would be it. I don't know that I would do much more than that. So let's jump through here, some roots, little narrow section. All right, so yeah, through all the tame stuff, the bike feels okay. It really does. I don't feel unsafe just riding regular trails, even if I'm riding a little faster. But we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna test these brakes. We're gonna see how they do on something sketchier. Let's hit this jump again. See if I can get a little bit more speed on it this time. Oh, man, that fork, it just does not sound good. It sounds like it's having a bad time when we hit that. Again, we're just kind of out of pedal here. I'm pedaling pretty fast. I feel like I definitely have more leg strength to put into it to go faster. All right, so going downhill,
The brakes are stopping me, but man, I'm really having to squeeze them. Like 2 fingers on the right, 3 fingers on the left. Let's see if I can get away with 2 fingers on the left. If I had to stop in a hurry on these things, there's no way. Just, I'm eating whatever it is that I'm trying not to run into for sure. So keep that in mind. Stock brakes, probably the first upgrade. I gotta say, man, for the price of this bike, I expect more out of the box. Again, I'm pleasantly surprised because the dude who owned this beat it up, threw a random hodgepodge of parts on it. Doesn't look like it was well cared for, so I just wasn't expecting much, but if I pulled this bike off the shelf at 450 bucks, man, massive disappointment, honestly.
All right, guys, so final thoughts on the Schwinn Ascension. Obviously, I got an insane deal at $100. That's a no-brainer. Plus the upgraded race face grips and pedals added even more value to an already awesome deal for me. So at $100, again, no brainer. If you guys find a deal like that, go out, pick one up. That's really where it's going to make the most sense. But if you are looking at a bike off the shelf in the $400 to $500 price range, this is probably gonna be one of the last bikes that I would look at. And it just doesn't come with features that lend themselves to upgradability. There is no rear cassette, and I think that's the main takeaway. You know, with something like the Kent Trouvaille, you not only get a cassette, but you get a name brand group set that you can kind of add to. You can swap out parts for better parts in the future. With the Schwinn Ascension, you get the Pro Rush 7-speed. Sure, it has a clutch, but again, it's not gonna lend itself to being upgraded to something better. You're gonna have to upgrade that wheel set first in order to get a cassette on there, and then after that you're going to have to replace the entire group set anyways, including the chain, because I highly doubt that you're gonna go from a 7-speed to another 7-speed. You're probably gonna wanna upgrade in the future to something with a little bit more range to it. So at $450, definitely not the bike that I'm going to be picking off the rack. I would definitely be going after a Schwinn Axum or a Kent Trouvaille at that $400 price point. This could be a great bike, but I think that the price needs to come down to 350 bucks for it to make sense to the average person looking to grab this bike off the rack. So for this channel, like I said in the live ride review, this is going to become a catch-all bike. I bought this bike in order to add the good parts that I'm taking off of other bikes and kind of basically just turn it into a good bike as time goes on, show you the upgrade process and see if it's really worth the time, if you're gonna get anything extra out of it in the long run, or if it's just gonna be a passion project where you're upgrading the bike to make it a better riding bike for yourself or maybe for someone in your family. So if you don't wanna miss those videos or any of my other upcoming videos, make sure to hit that like button on the way out if you like the video, because it helps the channel grow greatly, and subscribe so you don't miss any of those future videos. If you wanna support the channel, down in the description of this video, you can buy me a pizza, or you can donate to the channel via the Cash App link below. Anything that you guys put forward goes into future projects that'll make it here on this channel. Greatly appreciate the support. Hope that you guys enjoyed the video. Kyle here again, and we'll see you next time.